Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Rakakwadash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and Shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel, and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. I'm the brother Kalab from the GMS UK, London Forecasters Camp, coming back at you with another lesson to help edify those of which I spoke of. So this lesson is going to be about this award ceremony that took place, I believe, yesterday. Over here in the UK, they have something called the British Film and Television Awards, which is like a smaller scale version of, what do they call it? The Oscars, or the, those types of award shows for, films and entertainment. And something interesting happened on the show yesterday that's being reported on the news here. Let me play it, and now I'll break it down through the scriptures.
The biggest night in the British movie business, broadcast on the BBC with a 2-hour delay.
Right, so let me just speak about that 2-hour delay, because last year, over here in the UK, there's a very famous music festival called Glastonbury. It's like the biggest... Actually, it's not even just a big UK festival. It's one of the biggest music festivals in the world. All of the famous artists come over to here in the UK, Glastonbury, to perform in the summer. And last summer there was a group performing. I think the name of the group was Bob Villain or something like that. And they basically spoke out about the atrocities that are taking place against the Palestinians by the small hats. And basically the BBC was basically put on blast, by lots of people high up, saying that they should have never have broadcast that concert, and how, steps need to be taken, because it was deeply offensive to the small hats, and we can't have any anti-small hat sentiment being broadcast by the BBC. And the BBC, man, if you saw how fast they were trying to appease the small hats, because we know who really funds these institutions, they basically came out with this thing where they're going to put any live broadcasts shown by the BBC, they're going to have a delay on them, so that if any of these celebrities try and get out of line or out of pocket and say something that doesn't go along with the mainstream narrative, it can be censored. So bear that in mind, right? That happened last summer. So here you have the BAFTAs, another big high-profile event broadcast by the BBC, and they was allegedly playing it on a 2-hour delay, and people, what happened here?
Enough in theory for the broadcaster to edit out any offensive language.
Good evening and welcome to the EE BAFTA Film Awards 2026.
And while some cuts were made, not this. When the stars of Sinners, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, came on stage to present the night's first award, the N-word, which we have beeped, was shouted out.
Presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making. We're here to...
Visibly shocked, they were...
Now, if you notice, there's 2 beeps. So that means it was shouted out twice. And how many guys do you see on the stage there? You see 2 guys there, 2 Jakes. And the N-bomb, the word nigger, was shouted out twice. Listen to this. If I'm correct in what I'm hearing here, check it.
When the stars of Sinners, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, came on stage to present the night's first award, the N-word, which we have beeped, was shouted out.
Presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making. We're here to...
Visibly shocked, they were praised for carrying...
Now, bear with me a second. Yeah, shalom again. I just double-checked that. Yeah, the dude did shout out nigger, but I can't make out what the second word he shouted out was. But either way, it wasn't blurted out originally on the BBC broadcast. Now this is interesting because, as I said, when it came to those small hats and the Glastonbury event, They were the BBC were quick to come out and to condemn that type of anti-Sem statement, you know. But when it comes to us Israelites, there ain't no outcry or concern from the BBC. They let this shit slide. So this is basically the BBC's being shown for the hypocrisy, because as I said, they were quick to edit out and condemn the Bob Dylan concert, which spoke against the small hats. But when someone blurts out a racial slur against our people, BBC don't give a shit. So let's play this.
On, Lindo later telling Vanity Fair he wished someone from BAFTA had spoken to them afterwards.
Oh, and by the way, this Edomite that screamed out this racial slur, alright, so okay, they say he's got Tourette's, but what does the scripture say? Let me get this one. This is Matthew 12 and verse 34. O generation of vipers, how can ye being evil speak good things? For out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh. Let's get this in the blue letter. What was I looking at there? Is it Matthew 12:34? Okay. So the word here in the Greek for heart is cardia.
Strong's G 2588, cardia. Cardia.
So outline of biblical usage says the heart, that organ in the animal body which is the center of the circulation of blood and hence was regarded as the seat of physical life. That's not the definition we want. Definition B denotes the center of all physical and spiritual life, which is really your mind. Yeah, it goes into that here. Definition B, right? The vigor and sense of physical life, the center and seat of spiritual life, the soul or mind as it is the fountain and seat of the thoughts, passions, desires, appetites, affections, purposes, endeavors, the understanding, the faculty and seat of the intelligence, of the will and the character, of the soul, so far as it is affected and stirred in a bad way or a good, or of the soul as a seat of sensibilities, affections, emotions, desires, appetites, passions. Definition C, the middle or center of the innermost part of anything, even though inanimate. Yeah, so we got the definition there, which is the soul, the seat of your intelligence, your mind. So out of the abundance of your heart, being your soul, your seat of intelligence, your mind, the heart speaketh. So even though this guy allegedly has Tourette's, we know that Esau has a perpetual hatred for Jacob. Let's get that precept. This would be in Genesis 27. There you go. This is Genesis 27 and verse 41. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, there you go, the days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. And the words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. And she sent and called Jacob, her younger son, and said unto him, behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. It's another precept I want to get. This is Amos 1 and verse 11, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. So Esau has a perpetual hatred for Jake. So when we saw this situation here where Michael B. Jordan and this other Jake were presenting an award, it stirred up anger in this Edomite soul, and he basically said the words that the other Edomite in the audience were too afraid to come out and say, but they were also thinking in their heart, and it was captured on camera. And now the BBC's caught with their pants down because they didn't edit that out, even though there was a 2-hour delay on the broadcast. So that means that was intentionally kept in and not edited out. But that just reflects the tastes and sensibilities of the high up producers at the BBC. Because at the end of the day, they want to push that narrative that Jake is still a nigger. They don't care, but they're going to slander Jake any way they can and at any opportunity. But if you dare say anything bad about the small hats, that's the end of your career. Game over. No press start or insert point to continue. For those who get that joke reference, it's game over. No extra credits, no extra lives. That's the end of your career. You know, you become, what do you call it, blacklisted in the industry. You know, your agent's going to drop you. They're going to call you anti-Sem. Yeah, you'll be lucky if you'll be able to get a job, you know, packing groceries at Sainsbury's after that. Not even, those jobs don't even exist anymore. But anyway, let's keep playing.
The slur was shouted by John Davidson, seen here on the right, a campaigner who has Tourette's. It's a condition characterised by sudden and involuntary tics, which can include socially unacceptable words and swearing.
Hello.
He was at the BAFTAs after his life story inspired the film I Swear.
I was blown away. I did not imagine anybody could pretend to have Tourette's as an actor.
Robert Aramayo from I Swear.
It led to a dramatic and surprise win for its star, Robert Aramayo, for Best Actor, who appealed for understanding about the condition.
Tonight, especially, I just want to say that for people living with Tourette's, it's the us around them that help define what their experience is. So, to quote the film, they need support and understanding. Thank you so much for this. It means the world to me. I can't believe that.
But whilst there has been much support and understanding for John Davidson, many still have questions for the BBC.
We understand that it's involuntary, and actually this is a great learning moment for the Tourette's community and learning more about what they go through. But like I said, 2 things can be true at the same time. We can still be offended by what happened, and we can still feel unprotected if you don't do anything to censor it.
So you feel the BBC was too slow to react because the programme wasn't edited and it stayed on the iPlayer for some 12 or so hours?
If it was another slur, if it was a slur against another community, would that have been edited out? If it was a swear word that he had shouted out, would that have been edited out? I think it would have.
In fact, other remarks were edited out from the BAFTAs. When filmmakers Wale Davis and Akinola Davis Jr. won the award for Outstanding British Debut, these words about Palestine were cut from the broadcast.
For Nigeria, for London, the Congo, Sudan, free Palestine, thank you.
The BBC didn't respond to our specific questions, but gave us this statement. Some viewers may have heard strong and offensive language during the BAFTA Film Awards. This arose from involuntary verbal tics associated with Tourette syndrome. And as explained during the ceremony, it wasn't intentional. We apologise that this wasn't edited out prior to broadcast, and it will now be removed from the version on BBC iPlayer. John Davidson said this evening, I've spent my life trying to support and empower the Tourette's community. I'm deeply mortified if anyone considers my involuntary tics to be intentional.
Yeah, right, whatever. Keep crying victim, Esau. You know what your heart is. It's like a joke. I have that to end before I start speaking because it's just annoying. Yeah, we know what the deal is. BBC's been caught with their pants down and their hypocrisy is showing. And, you know, people are waking up to what the real deal is and, you know, what's going on. as they say. Right, let's read some of these comments. his racism was intentional and that weak apology is not acceptable. Yeah, it was a weak ass apology. He didn't call anybody else a racial slur. So his disease only turns on around black people when it could be bring free publicity to his film. The difference is intent. The Palestine comments had intent. There were no racial slurs against black people. In order for whatever, you took his shit. Yeah, what if Davidson had yelled "Free Palestine"? Would that have made it in the live broadcast? Exactly, no. Would it? Fuck. This is a shameless publicity stunt. Perhaps not so by Davidson, although I have my misgivings, definitely by the BBC, who are clearly lapping up the exposure. It's absolutely disgusting and unforgivable to cut out Free Palestine. Yeah, it's showing who runs these corporations, man. Yeah, the fact that the guy who did it couldn't be bothered to apologize, he essentially doubled down. Racism at its worst, people making excuses, yeah. Shame on the BBC. He's embarrassed, not sorry, yeah. John Davison didn't shout any identity-based slurs the rest of the evening. The only time he shouted a racial slur was when black people were on stage. There were people from other historically marginalised communities on stage throughout the night. He didn't shout any slurs for their communities. Yes, his outbursts were involuntary, but it's interesting that the specific instance was only the involuntary tick that included a slur. If it is truly involuntary and uncontrollable, then there wouldn't be a documented history of this man saying a slur when he's not around his people from that specific community. Yeah. Boycott the BBC. They didn't cut out the N-word, but cut out Free Palestine. Exactly. Disgusting as fuck. But Megan told you. Nobody thinks he did it on purpose, but the BBC did. Ironically, if he had shouted Free Palestine, they would have bleeped and edited it out. They definitely would have cut it off if it were a slur against the small hat people, the Jayish people. Exactly, man. If it was an anti-Semitic slur, would it have been kept in? There you go. What if the guy with the Tourette's had yelled Free Palestine or yelled a Jewish racial slur? Would there have been as low effort in that case? There you go. Yeah, there you go. So the BBC's looking bad on every way you try and cut the cake. The BBC's looking hella bad, man. You know, and this is all good for us because it only gives more credence to what we've been saying for the longest time, that we are living in the world governed by the wicked, and those wicked are the Edomites. You know, Esau is referred to in the scriptures as the wicked. You know, and what does the scripture say? Job 9:24, the earth has been given into the hand of the wicked, and he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? And this is also fulfilled Deuteronomy 28. This is Deuteronomy 28 and verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee. So this is a fulfillment of Deuteronomy 28:37. No matter how high up you climb in the society, because you could look at those two Jakes who were up there at the BAFTAs, Michael B. Jordan and the other dude, you could say that they've kind of made it in high society. But guess what? They ain't made it, because there's a glass ceiling. There's a glass ceiling above your head, and no matter how high you climb in Eastern society, you're still going to be seen as just a nigger, which is proven by that Edomite racial slur, and also the fact that the BBC didn't censor or edit that out, even though there was a 2-hour time delay. So I'm going to end it there. Lord willing, that's been an edifying, quick, and to the point lesson. So with that, I want to once again give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wachakodash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and Shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel, and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. And I'll catch you on the next lesson, Lord willing. Shalom for now.